Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, August 12th edition of Trending Politics Live. Welcome everybody in. We got people pouring in all over our different platforms. We got Periscope, we got YouTube, we got Facebook, we got everything going right now. So, you guys may have heard a little bit of news yesterday. Just as we got off the live stream yesterday, news broke that Kamala Harris is going to be Joe Biden's vice presidential pick. All right. Now, I will just give you some of my first initial reactions here. Honestly, I have never seen the right-wing media pounce like they did. Not right-wing media, but conservatives online and on Twitter. Like, we were ready. We were ready for the takedown, ready for the attacks, ready for what they were going to bring. So as soon as the announcement was made, I mean, I'm sure the Trump campaign and everyone on Twitter had their video files queued up, either whether it was Susan Rice or whether it was Kamala Harris. And as soon as that announcement was made, Twitter just exploded. Twitter absolutely exploded, okay? So I'm going to go over a few different things with you guys here today, okay? So first, I want to give you President Trump's reaction to all of this, okay, because it was quite humorous. Now, we're going to have to sit through about a minute of this liberal reporter kind of talking a little bit, but let's get into it, and then Trump just gives a pretty hilarious response. So, again, if you can't hear the audio of the video that's about to play, then make sure to turn the volume up on your device or on your computer. But yeah, so bear with me as we wait for about a minute and a half of the reporter asking the question, but then Trump gets in with his answer, and it's pretty gold. Here we go.
Sure.
So regarding Senator Harris's record, you had a pretty quick response to that. You had an ad out that said that she was a phony, and I wanted to drill down.
She was a what?
A phony. And I wanted to ask about a specific example that a lot of people thought was a phony moment. As San Francisco DA, she oversaw, according to the Mercury News, 1,900 marijuana convictions, but she was asked in an interview last year if she had smoked, and she appeared to joke and, according to some people, lie and say that she was listening to Snoop Dogg and Tupac while their music hadn't come out at the time, while she said she was smoking pot, listening to it. Why would she lie about that? Do you see that as more evidence that it surpassed on marijuana liability?
Well, she lied. I mean, she said things that were untrue. She is a person that's told many stories that weren't true. She's very big into raising taxes. She wants to slash funds for our military at a level that nobody can even believe. She is against fracking. She's against petroleum products. I mean, how do you do that and go into Pennsylvania or Ohio or Oklahoma or the great state of Texas? She's against fracking. Fracking's a big deal. She's in favor of socialized medicine, where you're going to lose your doctors, you're going to lose your plans. She wants to take your health care plans away from 180 million Americans. 180 million Americans that are very happy with their health insurance, and she wants to take that away. So she was my number one pick. I mean, she was, as they would say, because hopefully you'll start college football, she was my number one draft pick. And we'll see how she works out. She did very, very poorly in the primaries, as you know. She was expected to do well, and she ended up at right around 2% and spent a lot of money. She had a lot of things happening, and so I was a little surprised that he picked her.
So President Trump said she was my number one pick, my number one draft choice. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Only Trump could put it like that. So as many of you guys have seen, you know, she is not the most authentic person in the world. She is a very, very fake individual. This clip here, or this picture, is from Thanksgiving of this past year, 2019. This went viral for an interesting reason, okay? She's cooking a meal, but does anyone want to take a look at the apron? It's almost as if she's never used it. It's almost as if she just got that apron from Target and decided that she was going to give a perfect photo op, because back in these days, in November 2019, everyone thought that she was going to take over the Democrat primary. Everyone thought she was going to take over the race. So she was definitely trying to score some points. Definitely trying to say, I'm a real person, guys. Look at me, everybody. Look at me. I'm a real person. And her apron still has creases in it. Her apron has not a drop on it. How many times do you think she actually cooks, or does she have a personal chef? Does anyone think this is just one of the most inauthentic moments here? And changing gears to other news, this was the headline of the New York Times. This was the headline of the New York Times, everybody. Huge page-size picture of Kamala Harris, okay? 3 columns worth of copy and a huge headline. Kamala Harris joins Biden ticket, achieving a first. You guys, this is why they wanted her as VP. It has nothing to do with her qualifications. This woman called Joe Biden racist. She said that he had racist policies before in the past. So, does anyone want to guess what their coverage of Mike Pence was when Mike Pence was selected as President Trump's VP in 2016? Does anyone want to guess? I'll show you. Yeah, if it's hard to find, there's a red circle there at the bottom right corner. That's the New York Times announcement in 2016 for Mike Pence. This is the New York Times in 2020 for Kamala Harris. No, does anyone notice a difference? Just a little difference, right? Just a little different. But the media is not biased, right, everyone? The media is not biased at all. That's what they tell us. They tell us. Ben Shapiro had some very good analysis about this. Ben Shapiro said, that's the second tweet here. He says, Vice President picks normally don't matter. But this is the key part, everybody. 6 in 10 Americans think that Biden will not finish his first term, including a majority of independents. Trump should make this campaign race Trump versus Harris. He should simply ignore Biden's existence, as most people have done for most of Biden's career. That's what Ben Shapiro says. Now, Ben Shapiro goes on to say, and Harris is indeed a disaster. Trojan horse Harris is manipulative, mechanical, and extreme. There's a reason she dropped out before having to hear a referendum on her own constituents from California. So that's some pretty good analysis from Ben Shapiro. So let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Ben Shapiro's specific analysis. We're not done yet with Kamala Harris here, though, okay, guys? So what I want to do is talk about that. Do you think that President Trump should make it all about Trump versus Kamala Harris? Her failures, her hypocrisy, her lack of of how much of a genuine person she is. Let me know in the comments below. Now, one other thing I want to do here, everybody, is I want to bring in a special guest. So we have the pleasure of being joined here by an Army veteran who actually has been in the world of politics for over 25 years, writing on various websites. His name is John Doherty of the BizPack Review. I want to bring him in here. John, can you hear me okay?
I certainly can. Clayton, how you doing, buddy?
Okay, good. Hey, I'm doing great. I can hear you as well. Awesome. I'm going to put your name up here on the screen so you are a contributor at BizPack Review. John, for anyone who may not know, can you please tell us how long you've been in this industry, how long you've been writing, and then give me your thoughts on Joe Biden selecting Kamala Harris, because you and I were chatting on the phone a little bit earlier, and there's a lot to dig into here.
Absolutely. Been doing this about 30 years off and on, been in the Army about 15 off and on. Did journalism when I was in the Army. I did a bad tour as well. I've done a lot of things, but I've been writing, doing this stuff probably about 30 years, various websites. Started at WorldNet Daily back when they first came out. Worked at Newsmax for a while, did some CNS News and so on and so forth. Awesome. So BizPack is a great place to be, and I love being there.
That's awesome. That's great, man. That's great. So now give us your thoughts. You and I were chatting a little bit earlier. Tell us some of the big problems that you think Joe Biden is going to have selecting Kamala Harris as his vice presidential candidate.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, they're going to try to portray her as some sort of a moderate. In fact, Chris Wallace was on Fox News earlier today. We did a story on over at BizPac talking about, he's kind of preempting the GOP, saying, she's not really a moderate, or she's not really a far left like the GOP will say that she is, all this kind of stuff. The fact is that she is very far left. And in fact, when you look at it, the Biden campaign has pretty much adopted virtually word for word what the Sanders campaign was running on.
Yes.
So that part of it is that's it, as far as I'm concerned. There's no questioning that. Chris Wallace can opine on it as much as he wants, but I think most people know that it's a pretty far left ticket.
Yeah, and the media is already pushing that as a narrative. The New York Times came out with a headline yesterday and said she is a pragmatic moderate, when that could not be farther from the truth. And this is why we say fake news. The media it doesn't mean, when we say fake news, it doesn't always mean, hey, they're publishing a blatantly false story or a fake story. Sometimes it can be they're just saying something, or they're analyzing a situation that is completely not how it actually is in real life. They're saying that she's a pragmatic moderate when her record, her history does not lend credence to that. So that's that part. Now, what I do want to do is harken back to a moment here. This is why, now obviously, when you're talking about independents and you're talking about Democrats, here's why I don't think that independents and Democrats are going to come out in a big way for Kamala Harris, is because, first of all, the Democrat voters, she wasn't really seen as popular. I mean, she dropped out of the race basically right away because her popularity was nothing. So I want to harken back to a moment when Tulsi Gabbard took a blowtorch to her on the stage of a Democrat candidate, and this line of questioning, or this attack from Tulsi Gabbard, is going to be played millions of times over the next few months, and it's going to hurt her popularity with the Black community. It's going to hurt her community with Democrat voters in general and many independents. So let's take a second and watch Tulsi Gabbard absolutely take a blowtorch to her.
I want to bring the conversation back to the broken criminal justice system that is disproportionately negatively impacting Black and brown people all across this country today. Now, Senator Harris says she's proud of her record as a prosecutor and that she'll be a prosecutor president, but I'm deeply concerned about this record. There are too many examples to cite, but she put over 1,500 people in jail for marijuana violations and then laughed about it when she was asked if she ever smoked marijuana.
Watch her squirm.
She blocked evidence that would have freed an innocent man from death row until the courts forced her to do so. She kept people in prison beyond their sentences to use them as cheap labor for the state of California. And she fought to keep cash bail system in place that impacts poor people in the worst kind of way.
Thank you, Congressman.
So
Thank you.
Thank you. So what's your reaction to that clip and maybe some of the hypocrisy about Kamala Harris and how they're trying to position her as this law and order candidate when that's not going to work?
Absolutely. Yeah, we wrote about that this morning, too, at BizPac. I think the thing speaks for itself. You'll notice, in another thing that we pointed out in our story this morning, when Harris came back at her, Harris did not refute anything that Tulsi Gabbard said. All she did was attack her for being on Fox News and for attacking the Democrat Party, which, in fact, Harris has her own complaints about the Democrat Party as well. I think everybody does. So when she came back at her, she came back at her with a personal attack. She did not refute a single thing that she said, and I think that's going to be tough for her to do anyway because the records are out there. So
absolutely.
I don't think she's going to be very. I just don't think the Black community is just going to hover around her. I don't think she's going to get any more of the Black community to vote for than was already going to vote for Biden. And in fact, Biden was polling better than she was during the primaries.
Right. Exactly. So it's like you're not gaining more people. I mean, maybe if this was like, okay, well, now we need the Bernie Sanders vote, so maybe bring Bernie in. But they didn't do that. They brought in a woman because this is what the Democrats think about minorities. Hey,
Right, but they did bring in Bernie's agenda.
yeah, exactly. But I'm talking about optics here.
Right, absolutely.
This is what they think about Democrat voters. Hey, guess what? If we have a black person, if we nominate a black woman as a VP, guess what? We know you guys. We think you. That's what is going to be the deciding factor for you guys, and it's condescending to the minority communities. They are waking up in a big way, and that's not going to happen in droves. Not at all.
Insulting. I agree with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as I was talking before you jumped on, John, is I have never seen conservative Twitter pounce so hard, so fast, as soon as Kamala Harris, man. I mean, we must have, everyone on the conservative world must have had their video clips in the computer, in the file. All right, Kamala Harris, Susan Rice, and the second it goes live, just unleash the hounds, man. So
had their finger on the send button.
Right there, right? Kamala, Susan Rice, which one are we pushing?
Right.
I heard a story. I think BBC. My dad was telling me about this. BBC actually got faked out. They said they published a story that said it was going to be Susan Rice. They were obviously wrong. But so I want to play a clip that obviously the Trump campaign already had prepared. It was sitting there in the hopper. And so I want to bring this up here, this really, really fabulous ad that, I mean, it's going to be awesome.
Kamala Harris ran for president by rushing to the radical left, embracing Bernie's plan for socialized medicine, calling for trillions in new taxes, attacking Joe Biden for racist policies. Voters rejected Harris. They smartly spotted a phony. But not Joe Biden. He's not that smart. Biden calls himself a transition candidate. He is handing over the reins to Kamala while they jointly embrace the radical left. Slow Joe and phony Kamala. Perfect together. Wrong for America.
Oh my God. I mean, bravo, man. That right there, that could not have probably been more perfectly produced. So what's your reaction to that ad? In all the years you've been in politics, where does that ad rate on a scale of 1 to 10 for you in terms of its effectiveness and the framing of what they tried to do with that ad?
Oh, it's got to be right up there. I mean, it's obviously it's very well timed, but it's also very accurate. You know, a lot of times political advertising is, let's just say they embellish a little bit. But you know, the good thing about 2020 and the Trump campaign versus Biden and now Kamala Harris, they don't really have to make anything up. All they have to do is just present the information as it happened. You know, and let voters. Let voters. You know, see where they're at that point. So that's a pretty effective ad.
And exactly, and what is very encouraging to us as Trump voters is that they already know which line of attack to pounce on first, because they know the narrative that the left is pushing. So the left is saying she's a centrist. Well, Trump and the Trump campaign and the GOP, they are going to hammer in on that point. They're going to say, okay, you're a centrist. Let's go down the list. Let's talk about it. And they're going to do everything they can to expose that. And I think they're going to be very effective, just like that ad was incredibly, incredibly effective. Is that how you see it as well?
Absolutely. I absolutely do. And, you know, they're going to have to do that because, as you mentioned just a little bit ago, the New York Times is already putting out this phony narrative that she's a moderate and that she's this. Chris Wallace is obviously trying to help him out with that narrative. I don't know why he's still at Fox News, but that is what it is. And so, exactly. And so the Trump campaign is smart. I think the president has always been very good at reading his support base and reading the country in general, you know. And so I think that's why that ad comes out. You know, it comes out right out the back, right out the gate. You know, she's not a moderate, she's not a centrist. There is no such thing in the Democrat Party anymore.
Exactly.
It certainly isn't her.
Absolutely. And so what have you guys on BizPack Review? What have you guys discussed a little bit today about this whole thing? So I know you guys covered the Tulsi Gabbard angle about how she just got absolutely wrecked. What else have you guys been talking about over there at BizPack Review?
Well, we've been doing a lot of that. We've been doing a lot of this election coverage, and we don't do a lot of predictive stuff. We kind of just report what's not being reported very well or very much. And so we today obviously was a day to focus on this choice, and we've got a number of stories up that kind of expose Kamala Harris for who she is and what she really believes and her record and things like that. So I think it's probably going to be an interesting 80-some days between now and then, and BizPack will be all of it. So
I love it. So, you know, this whole this Kamala Harris election, it actually brought up a very good point for me. I want everybody to listen to this real quick. Ben Shapiro a couple weeks ago came out and he said it's hard to attack Biden because he doesn't feel threatening. Biden is a dead horse, and it's hard to beat a dead horse, okay? However, this pick of Kamala Harris, this just came to me as we were talking. This pick of Kamala Harris gives the Trump campaign something to pounce on. If we know President Trump and we know his campaign, as you were kind of alluding to, President Trump has some of the best instincts in political history. He knows what to say, when to say. He knows where the energy is. He knows where the focus is, right? And so he knows where that energy is going to go, and his team is pouncing, and now this gives them something to pounce at. Is that what you agree? Like, because think about what Biden was before. Let's be honest. Even though we know he's got radical policies and we know that he would be taken over by radical people, he as a person appears to be a frail, old, weak man who can't complete a sentence, and he doesn't seem as threatening as crooked Hillary Clinton. So what are your thoughts about that?
I think so. You know, there's a school of thought that discusses, you know, maybe the vice presidential race is going to be more exciting than the presidential race. But I don't think President Trump can afford to let up the gas, so to speak, and let Biden sneak away from not doing any debates or anything like that.
Of course.
You know, I mean, obviously, I will tune into the Mike Pence Kamala Harris debate, but I don't think I mean, right now, I mean, as all things stand, you know, and of course we're all, you know, Biden can ride a bike, right? So there's nothing wrong with his mental state, blah, 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 blah. So I think the president can focus on that, continue to focus on the prize, which is Biden. He's the guy that's at the top of the ticket, can't let him escape, and then deal with Harris as the time goes. And sometimes maybe even, you know, at least at some point in time, just kind of downplaying her significance might even play to their advantage as well. Absolutely.
And also think about this too. So that tweet, I think you caught the end of it, the whole Ben Shapiro tweet, right?
Good, yes.
Think about how this progression, okay, of logic. 6 in 10 voters think that Joe Biden is not going to finish his first term.
Right.
So that means 6 in 10 voters believe that potentially the VP could take over. Well, Mike Pence, I mean, even liberals, when he was giving the coronavirus press conferences, they loved how much of a statesman he was, how he wasn't making anyone mad, how he kind of always said the right things, and they may not agree with everything he says, but the left likes him a lot more than Trump. Independents maybe as well, because, you know, it's hard to support someone who's controversial. Is anyone watching this? If you're a Trump supporter, some people are afraid that they can't speak publicly about it because they'll get ridiculed, mocked, hated, fired from their jobs even, you know? So in voters' minds, they don't believe that Joe Biden can finish his first term. And now they're going to think, do I really want Kamala Harris now? Right. She got 2% in the polls. Like, do you think that would be a big driving factor as well?
Well, I think that's possible, certainly. You know, there is a lot of concern about whether or not Biden, and I think there's even a story out there somewhere that said that Biden at one point had said that he wouldn't run for a second term. So that would almost guarantee. Well, it wouldn't guarantee her.
She'd have to
run for it. But,
or George H.W. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, but so having said that, you know, Harris is going to draw her own. She's going to draw fire no matter what. But I don't think she's going to draw a lot of. I don't think she's going to draw a lot of interest from Democrat voters. I think they're going to vote for Biden just because
they don't like Trump.
Yeah, and then maybe hope for the best. You know, they were just going to, but they were going to vote for Biden anyway, and so I don't think she brings anything extra to his campaign. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to finish off with a couple of interesting, pretty funny things. So an image is going to display between you and I. So you might have to move one way or another to see the whole image. So your face doesn't get totally cut out. So maybe try to maneuver here. So as some people may have seen yesterday, Joe Biden, when he made his call to Kamala Harris, okay, I think you're okay. If you look very closely, now we don't have a zoomed in picture of this, but there's a piece of paper underneath his cell phone.
Yep. 2
things about this picture. The cell phone is the wrong way The microphone is away from him.
Right.
And there's a piece of paper with a script underneath the phone call. Underneath his phone, he needed a script in order to congratulate and tell his VP that she is going to be the vice president candidate. Now, as funny as that is, the liberal media, CNN and MSNBC, very strategically positioned their lower third chyron. As you can see, wait a minute. It's almost as if it's not there anymore, huh? The script is gone.
Yeah.
Well, not only is it the lower third chyron, but they put a bar of graphics where that script is to try to say, no, guys, Joe Biden is fine. He doesn't need a script in order to tell Kamala Harris she's the VP, right?
I guess I've never heard of social media.
Exactly. And it almost makes, if you think about this, because of social media, it almost makes things like this worse, because they think, we think the American people are stupid enough to where we can just manipulate things. And in fact, it ends up doing them more harm than good, because they might have tricked a couple people here. But you know what's going to get millions of views? This side-by-side comparison. Absolutely. And the last thing I want to end on is a brand new cartoon from A.F. Branco, a fabulous political cartoonist who just came out with this. Now we have the permission to air this because we have the syndication rights to his content. As many of you guys know, if you are subscribed to our physical newsletter at trendingpolitics.com, we have his syndicated cartoons in here. So I want to show you A.F. Branco's brand new cartoon, and it's one for the ages. Be my VP or you ain't black.
That dude, man, he's spot on, isn't he?
That is one. He probably had that also queued up as well. He had that one in the hopper, and he's just like waiting to shoot it. So that right there, exactly, he's waiting for it. So yeah, absolutely. So with that said, everybody, John, do you have any final thoughts about Kamala Harris as this choice, and what do you see kind of happening next, and then maybe what are you looking forward to next week in the long-awaited Democrat National Convention? There are going to be some characters on stage.
Yeah, the DNC convention is going to be, it'll be a bust no matter which side you're on, just because of the coronavirus restrictions and all that kind of stuff, which I think most Americans are pretty sick of. I'll just say that. But
yeah, absolutely.
In terms of what's going to happen in the next 80-some days, I wouldn't take anything for granted.
Yes.
Trump voters should never, ever do that.
Yep.
Just because, there's a lot of forces aligned against him. But I think that they've got somebody that they can run against, and not just in Biden, but in Harris as well.
Yes.
And I think they're gonna give both barrels to both of them, and they should. They shouldn't let up on either one.
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it. Okay, great. Well, sounds good. We'll be hearing more from you as the election goes on, man, so I can't wait to talk more about that. But everybody else, thank you guys all so much for being here. You guys, tomorrow, same time, 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 3 p.m. Eastern. We're going to take off. But, hey, John, thank you, man, so much for being here. And then we'll definitely bring you on here again soon. For everyone, my name is Clayton Kearns, trendingpolitics.com. Make sure you're refreshing the site. Always getting brand new stories up there, everybody. So thank you guys all, and we will see you guys later. All right, bye.